Chapter 7 of A Different Cowboy by Joe Jones. When the sun rose that day, there was no need for the rooster to crow, even though he did daily without fail. Johnny and the others were still awake from the gunfight the night before. They mourned the loss of their friend Armando. Tessa cleaning the blood off the kitchen floor with old rags. Johnny and Sam helped load Armando's lifeless body slumped over his horse. "Where will y'all bury him?" Johnny asked Jose. Jose wipes his eyes and looks across the prairie. "We're going to take him back to his family in Mexico. Let them decide," he states. Juan ties his horse to Armando's. Juan doesn't say a word. He silently weeps and climbs on top of his horse with a heavy heart. Johnny puts his hand on Jose's shoulder. "Thank you, amigo," he says. Jose takes a deep breath. "We're sorry for your loss." Jose nods his head and climbs on top of his horse and then slowly rides away into the sunrise. Sam walks over to the bodies of the two men that lay dead on the ground with a mask over their face. "You want to see who was after y'all, Johnny?" Johnny shakes his head. "Probably someone I used to consider my friend," he says. Sam takes the bag off the outlaw's face and says, "Even worse. It's your brother, Leroy." Tessa hears this and asks, "That's your brother?" Johnny looks down at him and says, "Yeah, that's him." "Oh, Johnny, I'm sorry. No need to be sorry, Tessa. He was going to take us out if we didn't get him first. That's why he was here. That's why they was all here." Johnny looks at Sam and asks, "Who's the other one?" "No telling. This one's charred to a crisp. That fire didn't burn out for at least an hour or two." Johnny takes his cowboy hat off and runs his fingers through his hair. "Good. I don't want to know," he says. "Johnny, I'll go into town and pick up some shovels. They couldn't have seen me last night through the window. It was too dark. I'll be safe. We need to bury these men." "Nuh-uh. Not here. Not on my land," says Tessa. "I'm sorry, Johnny. You're going to have to find a place for your brother if you want. But as far as those other two, throw them in the river or leave them in the woods for the animals to get them. But so help me God, they will not be buried here. My daddy's buried on this land, and he will not share the same resting place as these racists who tried to put us in the ground beside him." Johnny hears a horse behind the house. He sees that the sheriff's horse and the outlaw's horse returned back to the house after running off in the middle of the night. "I've got an idea," he says. He throws his brother on top of Ranger and puts the sheriff on top of his horse. "We'll bury my brother down yonder a ways, but the sheriff will send back to town." And so they did. Sam rode back to town and Johnny returned to Tessa. A few days went by and things were quiet and started to feel normal again. There hadn't been any sign of outlaws or cowboys coming back to retaliate. And they thought since the mean old sheriff was dead, maybe they would finally get to live and love in peace. But still, every night, as long as Johnny could, he would stay awake on the front porch watching the top of the hill with his rifle in hand, just to make sure there wouldn't be another ambush. One night, as Johnny sits in the rocking chair, getting sleepy, he rubs his eyes. He then hears the old door slowly open. "Hey, darling," he says to Tessa. "It's getting late, Johnny. I think you should come in now." Johnny gives the hill one last look. "Okay, honey. I just can't stand the thought of them showing up when I'm asleep or gone and them hurting you," he says to her as he gets up from his chair. "I love you, Johnny. I love you too, Tessa." She grabs Johnny by the hand and brings him in the house. Johnny turns Tessa around and says, "Tessa, Our lives right now are in constant danger. And if anything ever happens to me, I want you to know that you're the only girl for me. And I want you to always remember that. She looks up at him and he looks down into her eyes. She feels the chemistry, fill the room, and love overflowing in her heart with every breath she takes. She kisses him slowly and begins to back up to the kitchen table. The only thing surrounding them other than the darkness in the room was the two small candles glowing on each side of the room that she had lit previously before. But all they knew in that moment was that there was an irresistible urge to be one with each other again. Johnny slowly walks over to her. You are absolutely breathtaking, Tessa. She closes her eyes and imagines them laying beside each other in the springtime under the stars out in the open, without a care in the world. He runs his hand in the back of her dress, touching her skin with his fingertips. He feels whelps on her back, and she opens her eyes. Tess? That's from when I got whipped all those times as a slave. The scars are still there, physically, mentally. Sorrow fills Johnny's heart, and he says, please give me the honor of healing all of these scars in your life. Allow my love to flow like the river where we first fell in love. I promise I'll love you all the days of my life. Tessa takes a deep breath. Make love to me, Johnny. Right here. They begin to kiss passionately again, sharing their uncontrollable feelings for each other. It begins to rain outside, and Tessa looks up at the ceiling Johnny fixed. At least we won't be wet tonight, she says. Johnny grins and says, I wouldn't say that. He then lays her down on the kitchen table. Once again, her breasts are engulfed by his mustache, and her whole body shakes in pleasure as he greets her lower parts. She then pushes him off and pushes him down on the table. She climbs on top of him and kisses his hairy chest, straddling him, rubbing her skin against his. Her head goes down, and she pleases him for a while. He then picks her up and carries her to the bedroom. They kiss passionately the whole way. He carries her as if she's as light as a feather in his strong arms. They fall into each other on top of the bed, and he feels her physically as they pour out their hearts emotionally to each other. The thunder rolls and she screams in pleasure. Her fingertips scratch down his back, bringing goosebumps all over his body. Each time the lightning flashes, it lights up the room, revealing the beauty of the love that they were making that night. This concludes Chapter 7 of A Different Cowboy by Joe Jones. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you.